I do reflections, I always think for a couple of weeks in advance, and I realize what's on my mind. So I apologize if this one might be a little bit of a downer, but it's been what's on my mind recently. I'm not a natural carer. So when I found myself in that role with somebody who was terminally ill, it was one of the toughest times of my life. And I imagine most of this group have had to face that task at some time. What follows are thoughts about the whole role and one of the reasons why it has become so hard. I have never been a fan of the nuclear family. And as a young adult, I remember running away from it as fast as I could. Through my adult life, I have been wont to make my own families and support networks with friends. But it is hard to bring back the old ideal of the supportive extended family when people move so much. And maybe it's impossible, maybe life has moved on, but it should take a village to bring up a child. The problems with no extended family support became extremely relevant when I was teaching severely handicapped children in South LA. The mothers coming into meetings were very stressed. By the age of 10 or 11, in the majority of cases, the father had flown the coop and the mother was left dealing with a child who had a lot of needs. Summer school was less about education and more about giving the mother respite care and a chance to earn some money. I can only begin to wonder how they managed in the last year during the pandemic. I hope they, like me, have friendship families to lean on. However, one of the worst things about it was knowing that a parent might predecease the child. And friends with handicapped children spend a lot of time worrying about how to leave the child provided for. I know 2 friends with Down syndrome children well into their 40s. Modern medicine has extended their families, but certainly were added a lot to the worries of the now elderly parents. More recently, I'm seeing the other side of this. I'm finding that the older homeless men that I deal with often have a similar story. One who is of limited intelligence and maybe slightly on the autistic spectrum is very lost. He talks all the time about how wonderful it was living with his mother before she died. And I'm sure it was better than sleeping on the street, which is what he's doing now. He is 63. Others were carers and spent their late 50s and 60s looking after an elderly parent. And when the parent died, there was no money and no way to survive. In one case, his mother had taken out a reverse mortgage to pay her living expenses, which left him homeless the moment she died. Another gave up a good job in the movies in LA to go back home with his mother, thinking it would be a couple of years, but it took 8, by which time he'd run through his savings. He came back to LA expecting to find work and found all his contacts had retired or moved on and there was nothing left for him. He now lives in his car, which is broken down. He is 69. Even for those who do not have financial hardships, I see other issues. A good friend of mine retired and moved back to California into her childhood bedroom because tragically her mother and brother had just died and she needed to be with her 90-year-old father. That was 11 years ago, and he died a few months ago at the age of 101. In some ways, although she was glad to do it, she feels she's lost an entire decade of her life. I don't know what the answer is in this nuclear family world. I'm mercifully glad that my one child does not have special needs and that I had him as an elderly mother, which means he will not be sacrificing himself to me in his late middle age. But I just wanted to spare a thought for all those people who have to become caregivers, probably the hardest job of all, and for all those who need support through life. I'm sorry this does not sound more upbeat, but as we all know, there is tremendous pleasure and emotional strength also in these intense relationships. And a lot of it I'm only talking about from the outside. Thank you.